just got back here from Antarctica 3 days ago. So I'm fresh off the boat, so much so that I still have sea legs. And what a contrast coming from Antarctica to New York City. It's like you can go from the most pristine, quiet, pure air, no noise place to the most noisiest, polluted, high buildings, traffic, everything having like the most stimulation in New York City. So I'm a little still disoriented coming straight from Antarctica with Quark Expeditions, but I'm going to tell you about my experience, and these pictures were taken as soon as 3 days ago. So a little bit about me, what I do. I'm a food and travel writer. I write a series of children's books about travel. They are called Beato Goes To, and Beato is a cat of mine who has been to the polar regions. He's been to Greenland, Israel, Indonesia, Japan, and Brazil. And I also have a non-profit which is called Go Eat Give, and the idea is to take you on sustainable journeys around the world where you're not just a tourist, but you're actually learning about the place. So here are some of the publications that I write for, and you might have seen my work in a few places. I also do a lot of TV and radio work as well. In case you were interested in the books, that's called Beato Goes To. So these are children's books for kids, but they all talk about travel and how to learn about different cultures through travel. But these are actual photographs I've taken during my trips and actual people I've met in all of those places. So that's a little plug for me before we dive into my Antarctic journey, which I just got back from. Now, most people ask me, why Antarctica? It's cold, it's so far, it's so expensive, it's hard to get to. Why do you want to go there? Well, my response is, why not? How many of you guys have a dream to go to all 7 continents? Yeah, a lot of you do. So I do have that dream too, and Antarctica was my 7th continent, as was for 95% of the passengers who were with me on that journey. So yeah, if 7th continent is your dream, that's the only way you could do it. You have to go to Antarctica. It is the end of the world. It is a bucket list item for many people. It is a very different place. Even if you've been to Arctic, you've been to New Zealand, you've been to Galapagos, I've done all of those expeditions, but Antarctica is completely different. And we'll see why. One of the reasons is wildlife. It's completely different wildlife, and I'll show you a few pictures. If you want to be up close to nature, if you want to do photography, you want to be in a place that is not polluted, there is no infrastructure, no hotels, no roads, it's just you in nature experiencing in its natural form. And it's a tour of a lifetime for many people. So I met people who were celebrating their anniversaries, their 30th birthdays. Somebody had a proposal. On my tour, there was a 12-year-old to 85-year-olds. And the 12-year-old was checking off her 6th continent. The 85-year-old was his 7th continent. So it is a journey that appeals to everybody at some level, and it's your own personal bucket list item. Now, why go with Quark Expeditions? So being a travel writer, my job is to research who are the players in polar expeditions, and I talk to a lot of companies, I talk to a lot of PR people, and I decided that Quark Expedition was better for me because one, they have a strong reputation in polar travel, having over 30 years of impeccable record. They are one of the spokespersons on what is happening in Antarctica in terms of sustainability, in terms of being market leaders. They also have a combination of adventure and luxury. So I don't want to rough it. I don't want to go on a Russian icebreaker, but I don't also want to spoil the pristine things that are offered in Antarctica. which if you're on a ship that has more than 500 passengers, you cannot even get off in Antarctica. You'll be on the ship the whole time. And that's not the whole point of going there. So you want to be in a small enough boat where you can get off and do things. We had a Zodiac landing twice a day. We had 130 passengers, and we had a lot of adventure activities. Yet we had the comforts of a nice ship. You know, everybody had a nice cabin. The ship has been renovated 3 years ago. We had really gourmet dinners. There's a library and a lounge, and everybody had working nice toilets, individual cabins in all categories. So I felt like it was the right combination for a traveler who's looking for adventure and expedition, but you don't also want to like complete just luxury. The biggest reason for me to go with Quark Expedition was to fly over the Drake Passage. If you've heard about the Drake Passage, it's some of the roughest waters in the sea. And actually a lot of people decide not to go to Antarctica, dreading the Drake Passage. So if you would go with a normal cruise only way to get to Antarctica, you're 2 days on the Drake Passage each way. So you're spending 4 days on the water. Now it can be the Drake Lake or the Drake Shake, as I've been told, but I did not want to take my chances. I do get seasick, and I've heard stories about no medication works. You still have to lie down and wet it out. So this opportunity offered me to fly over the Drake Passage in 2 hours. And I was like, yeah, I want to do it that way. So it cuts the trip short too, because you're not spending 4 extra days on sea. You are there in 2 hours. You get straight to your ship and you start doing all the adventures that Antarctica has to offer. So the trip is only 8 days, versus if you were to go some of the other expeditions, they can last as long as 22 days. So here's our flight. The plane looks like a penguin, which you'll see why. I saw billions of penguins when I was there in the 5 days. And the flight takes off from Punta Arenas, which is the southernmost part of Chile, and it lands on King George Island, which is not really an airport, it's just a landing strip on a military base. So it is a tricky place to land. You cannot just go online and buy a ticket. This is a charter plane, and Quark Expedition arranges for all of your flights and landings and everything. So this was our ship, Ocean Adventurer, and like I said, this is a smaller ship. It's not so small that you will feel sick, that it will shake, but it's not as big that you will not be able to get off the boat. So I'll show you some more pictures of the ship, but that's the dining room. That's one of the cabins, which is very comfortable. So this is the first day I was in Antarctica, one of the landings we did. And everything you see there, the red, are penguins. And this was the most amazing image to me. It's like we're coming on the Zodiac and you see penguins as far as you can see. It's like the entire hill is covered with penguins. There are penguins in the water, they're floating on the icebergs, and you can walk there. So you are not disturbing them. They're totally oblivious to us. And we are obviously told to keep safe distance, not to go touch them. But everywhere we were walking, they were penguins. And we would sit down, they will just walk past us, they will come near us. And you cannot have too many penguin photos, as my laptop with 5,000 pictures says. So here's a photo of me with the penguins. Now, a lot of people ask me how cold it was. This is how cold it was. I'm wearing just a sweater. It was in the 30s. This is last week when I was there in Antarctica. I landed back here and it was colder here. So it was 30s and sunny, but the weather fluctuates every day, every hour. So you have to come kind of prepared with lots of layers. And the Quark Expedition team gives you a list of things to pack. They give you a jacket and the boots, so you don't really have to pack a lot of things, but you just have your inner layers and you take them off depending on how the weather is. The other thing is with the penguins, if you're a penguin fan, this is the time where these are the chicks that are growing up. So depending on what time of the year you go to Antarctica, you'll see different things. So earlier in the season, so around November, you're going to see bigger glaciers. Now they're starting to melt. The penguins are more mating, they have chicks. Now you're seeing the chicks are becoming bigger, and look how they look. It's completely different than when they grow up. And then towards the end of the season, the glaciers change, their sizes and their colors change, and the chicks are starting to go into the water. Once they change color, the parents are sending them out. And same thing the whales. You'll see more whales as you go into more of the summer season. These photos I've taken with a point and shoot camera. So if you think that you need special equipment to go to Antarctica and take photos, it's completely unnecessary. I did see a lot of people who had these big zoom lenses and they were carrying multiple DSLRs, but there's no bad photo in Antarctica, I felt like. So we saw all kinds of seals up close, Weddell seals, leopard seals, fur seals, everywhere you looked. And these seals were like that close of a distance. They don't come, they're not bothered by us. They don't attack us. They're just full. You know, there's so much food everywhere. They're full, they're lounging around, they would wave and they would pop their head up to see what's going on, get a good photo shot and go back to sleep. So here are some other seals that we saw. And being on the Zodiac, so you're not taking these pictures from the ship. You are out off the ship every day, twice a day. You get in the Zodiac, and the Zodiac is cruising along the different icebergs and the glaciers. It goes close to the coast, and whenever there's an opportunity, we get to get off the Zodiac and walk around. We can go hiking, so we can get pretty close to these wildlife and take their photos up close. Here's another seal with a penguin in the back. Now penguins are typically eating seals, but this, the seals are eating the penguins, but this penguin is mocking the seal because the seal is full, and the penguin is like, hey, I'm right here behind you, but you're not gonna eat me. So these stories, our guides, our adventure guides are telling us while we are on these Zodiacs, and they're telling us about not just what kind of wildlife we're looking at, but what their behavior is and what they're thinking, what they're doing, because these guides are there year-round. They're in the Arctic half a year, in the Antarctica half a year. They come year after year, and they know a lot of these animals, how they behave. So that was very interesting for me personally. Now that's a humpback whale, and just to make clear, this is right here, me in the front of the kayak. And I have never been that close to a humpback whale ever in my life. I've been on whale watching tours around the world. I've seen a lot of humpbacks, blue whales, but this was crazy. So you have the option also to go kayaking almost every day. You can buy a package where you go on the kayaks on every landing instead of the Zodiac. And on our tour, people went about 8 or 9 times kayaking. So that gives you a little bit of a closer view from the water of the wildlife and the glaciers. It's a different perspective. And that day, it was just 4 of us who went out kayaking. And we were for an hour, just no waves, calm waters. The sun was out. And we were having a great time seeing some penguins, and this whale comes all of a sudden and it's going all around us for an hour. So I took a lot of photos of the whale, and it would come out of the water, do a dive, it would show its fin and tail, and that was his mouth. I mean, that's a priceless photo. But then the rest of the passengers came on the Zodiac, and it was still pretty close to them, which you'll see in the next photo. So this is a picture I took from my kayak of them. And along with photos, I've taken tons of videos as well. Because we're short on time, I can't show you everything, but if you go to my website and my Facebook, Instagram page, you'll see these videos. They are unbelievable. So the other thing you're going to see in Antarctica are icebergs and iceberg formations. If you're into photography, or in my case, my mom loves to paint. So I got a lot of photos that she would actually paint oil paintings out of. And this is like a sight you see every day, all the time. So it's not a once in a lifetime thing. There are all kinds of iceberg formations and glacier formations. You are in this condition where it's absolutely quiet, it's pure, you can't hear anything but some birds. You may hear a ripple of water occasionally, but while I was there, it was very, very calm. And if you just sit down anywhere while you're out, you will feel the surroundings. You'll feel like you're in a place like no other in the world. I don't think I've felt that quiet and pristine anywhere else. And I've been to almost 100 countries, all 7 continents at this point. Here are some of the other glaciers we saw. And this was a 2-hour zodiac that we did. So a lot of times the captain would let us go get on the zodiac, and he will take the ship to another destination, and we will come back on the ship on another point in Antarctica. So that was like really adventure that we were getting to do, and seeing this kind of scenery for hours. A lot of historic sites as well. So this is a whaling ship, a whaling station that actually sank. So our guides would tell us about in 1905 to 15, there was a big whaling operation down in Antarctica where they used to extract oil from them for use blubber and oil. So this is one of the stops that we made, but there were countless places that we were able to look for research stations and whaling stations. So you have to take that mandatory photo when you step on the Antarctic Peninsula. Most of the people who do end up going to Antarctica, they're, like I said, on the ship, or they may land on one of the islands. Very few people get to land on the continent landmass, so we did that. We were able to get offshore and take a picture with the flag that we have landed on Antarctica. And it was just white snow as far as you can see. And that's a spot where you can also do some trekking, you can do some ice activities, and there's the ship in the back, so you can see we're not very far from it. On the ship, like I said, there was a lot of things to do on the ship, but we really never spent any time. I was told that to carry some activities with me. I'd never read a book, I never opened my laptop, I never really got to do anything personal because we were always out and about and there was something constantly going on. So this is one of the evenings we had a barbecue outside with that environment that you see, the scenery, and it was amazing. The chefs grilled chicken and fish and shrimp, and we just sat outside. There you see some hot tubs out there too. And it wasn't that cold, so it was enjoying this beautiful weather, getting to know people, enjoying some good food. And this is one of the hikes. So I think you have to also be mentally prepared that it is an expedition. It is not a walk in the park. You are going to get off, and there are no paths. It is not a guided trek. Once you get off, you walk around anywhere, and no person has been here before. So the itinerary changes every single day. The expedition that I did, you probably would not. You may go to different islands, you may land different times of the day, and you may see different things. So when you get off there are rocks, there's stones, there's snow, there are all kinds of elements, and you just have to be able to accommodate to that and walk. But our expedition guide was really nice. They had walking sticks if we needed them. They could guide us through the paths. They would sit along different flag posts so you know exactly where to stay. So if you're up for the challenge, that's called the polar plunge, where you can actually dip into the Antarctic waters. I did not do that because I hate cold water. And in 30 degrees, I'm not going to be taking my clothes off and getting in there. But we had a lot of people who did it, and that's a bucket list for a lot of people to do the polar plunge. So that's Wayne from our expedition ship. The one thing I really enjoyed about the expedition ship is not just that they were so knowledgeable and experts about each subject like whales or birds, but they were photographers, and they would take photos of us and put it on a computer in the library that we could just go and download off. So it's not like you have to carry your own personal photographer or always be looking out for taking pictures, because these are experts who are doing that, and they're not charging you anything for it. So you can just go and get any pictures you like. So every day we had a briefing. As I said, we had no idea where we would be going the next day. It would just be decided kind of that evening. We have an intention of going to this and this location, but then once we land there, we don't know what we're going to see, because this is wild. You know, you don't know which penguin is going to show up, which seal is going to be sitting on the iceberg. But at the end of the day, we would have a briefing about everything we saw and what we felt and where we went. So that was a really good way to connect the dots and recap what we were seeing. So this couple actually got engaged in front of the penguins, which I thought was a really neat idea. I had never seen anyone getting a proposal in Antarctica. So I was traveling by myself on this trip, and I was a little nervous that, okay, it's on a ship, it's a cruise, it's in the middle of nowhere, I may not have Wi-Fi, how do I stay connected, and I don't know anyone, I was totally by myself. But I met a lot of people and a lot of other single travelers who were also married, and maybe their spouse didn't want to go, or they were not physically able to go. It was a bucket list for one of them. They were families, they were father-sons, they were mother-daughters, they were all kinds of combinations. And I felt like the kind of people that came on this trip, they all have the same mentality. They are not looking for coming there and being spoiled. They're looking to enjoy the place, to witness something that is very different. And we all just got along. We had family-style dinners, and I sat with a different table every single meal, and I could start a conversation with every person. So that's something different I had not experienced before as a solo traveler. You know, you meet so many 130 like-minded people, and you get to talk to everyone. And also the expedition staff would sit down with us, so they would share their stories and what they had been doing. And they were from 30 different countries, so we had a lot to talk about. Yeah, I think that's my last slide, and this is also one of my photos. Well, we are out of time, but if you want to stick around, have any questions for me, I'll be here. I have some cards here. Or you can also come visit booth 529, which is for Quark Expeditions, and they have a great team that's going to be able to answer any questions for you. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will follow me on Facebook and Twitter to see more amazing photos from my trip to Antarctica, and think about going there yourself. Thank you.